Welcome back, mathematicians. Today we are going to be working on creating tables from equations and pulling together a lot of the different things we have learned about ratio tables, how to graph them, how to read them, and how to write equations from them. So to start off, I would like for you to check your table of contents in your math notebooks. If you haven't been keeping up to date on what we have been putting in our math notebooks, if you can go ahead and push pause and copy down all of the items that you should have in your math notebook. Hopefully you only have to add this one right here. This is the one we're doing today, creating tables from equations, and it should be on your page 19. So as soon as you are done copying that down, you can push play and continue with us. So we're going to turn to page 19 now. Remember, page 17 should have been your rate and unit rates, so the back of page 17 is page 18. So page 19 should be with the holes on the left side of your paper. Should be page 19 up here. And we're going to take this lesson 19 sheet and put minuscule amount of dots on the page to glue this onto our notebook so that we can write on it right away. Push pause until you have that piece of paper glued into your notebook. All right, now that you have your paper glued in and you are ready to work, we're going to look at example 1. So example 1 says the ratio of cups of blue paint to cups of red paint is 1 to 2, which means for every cup of blue paint there are 2, and I like to put our every means 1 cup of blue paint, there are 2 cups of red paint. In this case, the equation would be red equals 2 times blue, or R, that's the variable we're putting in place of any amount of red paint, is equal to 2 times B. This is a little algebra reminder for you that whenever you see a number and a letter, and we call this juxtaposition, side by side with no operation in between them, it implies that we need to multiply. So I like this word juxtaposition, which means side by side. Means multiply. A little rhyme for us. Remember, whatever I write in my math notebook, I expect to see you have written in your math notebook as well. So whenever you see 2B, that really means 2 times whatever the value of B, where B represents the amount of blue paint. That's a variable standing for any amount of blue paint that we want. So now they want us to make a table of the values. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that we put in our labels. So this first one would be cups of blue paint. And the second one would be cups of red paint. And our ratio is for every 1 cup of blue paint, there are 2 cups of red paint. So we see this ratio here. We see the order of the words, blue paint to red paint. So immediately we know 1 cup of blue means 2 cups of red. We can also figure out our red amount by taking the amount of blue and multiplying it by 2. So if we had 2 cups of blue, 2 times 2 would mean 4 cups of red. And if we had 3 cups of blue, 3 times 2 is 6 cups of red. And if we had 4 cups of blue, 4 times 2 is 8 cups of red. So now we have our equivalent values here. Notice that they all simplify to 1/2, which is our original ratio here, or 1 to 2. The other thing we want to look at is what is the unit rate? So in this case, for 1 cup of blue paint, we need 2 cups of red paint. So our unit rate is 2. We can see a connection in our equation here that the unit rate equals 2. And also in our equation is the number we're multiplying the blue by to get red. So again, there's a connection between the unit rate and where we see it in our equation. Let's do another example. Example 2 has Miss Sipple is a librarian who really enjoys reading. She can read 3/4 of a book in 1 day. This relationship can be represented by the equation days equals 3/4 books, which can be written as D, a variable for any amount of days, and then juxtaposition here means 3/4 times the number of books, where B is a variable for any number of books, and D represents the number of days. So in your table, see if you can figure out what two labels you would put in those two places. Hopefully you put number of books and number of days. 3/4 of a book in 1 day. So we could start filling this in with so we can look at this as either 3/4 of a book in 1 day, so we have 3/4 in 1 day, or we could look at it as 3 books in 4 days, because ultimately it's the same thing. Because if we had 3/4 of a book, 3/4 of a book, 3/4 of a book, 3/4 of a book, this would be 4 days. So 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4 equals 12/4, which equals 3 books in 4 days. So it can be read either way. So we can look at it as 6/4 of a book in 2 days, which is the same as having 1 book and a half, because it's 1 and 2/4, which is 1 1/2 books. And then 3 days would be 3/4 plus 3/4 plus 3/4, which would be 9/4, which would be the same as 2 books and 1/4. And then by the time we get to 4 days, that would be 3 whole books, because it's 3/4 like we did down here to get 12/4, 3 books in 4 days.